All right, welcome back, everybody, to Semper Sometimes. This is going to be episode number 3 of After Action, where we talk about Marines, veterans, Army, all different types of veterans who've gotten out of the military and what they're doing now for veteran advocacy, and just for them to tell their own story in their own words of what their service did for them and the things that they dealt with and are dealing with now being out. So today I have with us Rocco. You may know him from many different things, from the Mayans, from Veteran, from his own podcast that he recently just started. And, I know he's all over social media. So if you don't know him, go check him out on his Instagram. But I just want to say a huge thank you before we begin, man. I know you're a very busy guy. We've been talking about this for probably about 2 years now. So thank you so much for coming on. It means a whole lot to me, man. I've only heard great things about you from other veterans and friends of mine that know you. So welcome to the show, man, and please introduce yourself for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my name is Vincent Rocco Vargas. The nickname stuck 1 year and it's kind of taken over. So I use it now, like almost all the time. I was, let's see, active duty military from 2003 to 2007. Then I jumped into the reserve side. The unit I was in with active duty was 2nd of the 75th Ranger Regiment. I did 3 combat tours, 2 to Afghanistan, 1 to Iraq. I was an infantryman. I jumped out of active duty, went to reserves as a drill sergeant, continued my career as a reservist all the way until I medically retired in 2021. I did a small stint as a psychological operations NCO, and then I eventually retired as a senior drill sergeant. So that's my military career. After the military of active duty, I jumped into the prison system. I was a prison guard for a little while, for 2 years, and then I became a border patrol agent stationed down in Del Rio, Texas. Currently, right now, the busiest station in the nation. And I left and resigned in 2015 to pursue acting. By chance, it fucking worked. So, so I did 5 years, 6 years with the show Mayans MC as an actor. Also, I wrote on the show, and I'm really taking that career and trying to push that as far as it possibly can go. Obviously, on my downtime, I work on mental health and wellness stuff. So
Yeah, man. So how did so I the way I know of you was from the hashtag veteran so how did that begin? And I think I had heard you say before that it was like just an accident, like you just kind of finger fucked it, and then it just kind of like. So can you tell us just a little bit about that and the things that you're doing for mental health?
yeah, man, for many years I've been trying to, because of my background with psychological operations, right? Because and also I don't know what the fuck transition, and I can cuss, right? I want to make sure we're good with it. Okay. Somehow I kind of started to transition my life in the better direction. And with that same idea, I started thinking about all the influence I kind of had. And even at the time, I probably had 20,000 followers. It still was enough to know that I was someone that people looked up to. And so I wanted to kind of represent something with a positive in our community. I felt like the community itself was such a negative place, right? It was like, I think it was early 2013, I got in an argument with like a group of dysfunctional veterans, right? That group, dysfunctional veterans, and whatever their reasons for having it, and it works for certain people, it didn't work for me. And I was actually offended, like, why would any of you ever call yourself a dysfunctional veteran? Like, it would blew
Yeah,
my
yeah,
mind. Bro,
yeah. I don't get it either.
yeah, people were taking this negative version, or they were wearing shirts that said, "I'm a veteran, don't talk to me," so things like that.
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah,
it was this weird world of our culture, the veteran culture, being very bro vet slash like fuck civilians. I'm a
yeah,
veteran. Fucking
yeah,
praise me, and I fucking hated it, dog, because that was never my personality in life. I've never been. Even though in high school I was a jock, I was also in the fucking art club. I was also in the Hispanic club. I was also in the black.
yeah.
I was also in the chess club. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the type of dude that wasn't this. I didn't, wear one hat and identified as that my whole life.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when I became an Army Ranger, I still didn't, even though the culture of it is very
yeah,
Army Ranger, fucking boom.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really
We're the only ones.
right.
Rangers lead the way.
Right. So then when I went to
Yeah,
like PLDC or whatever it's called now, eventually I'm hanging out with dudes that are not Rangers because they look up to us, right? And they had questions and I had the answers and we're just talking. And I became friends with people that weren't in my little world of the Ranger Battalion because I didn't like kind of the closed-minded mentality of thinking you were
Mm.
above anyone. It just made me
Yeah.
feel, it didn't make me feel good, dog. It just wasn't a thing for me. So that continued to go on, like, as we started doing, I got into Article 15 clothing. Me, Matt, and JT were doing our thing. You guys know them as Black Rifle Coffee now. They went off and did their thing. I went off and continued to try and promote this positive narrative. And in doing that, I was writing these articles. And these articles were like, one was about like just how, kind of like how you get over things. One was about brotherhood, one was about balance, whatever the case. And I'm writing for Have a Journal, I'm writing for different little publications. And as I'm writing these things, I text them on my phone. And at one point it put veteran. And I was like, hold the fuck up. That is feeling. And it just, for me, I was like, everything I do now is veteran, right? Everything I
Yeah.
represent is being a better veteran, is
Yeah.
a better veteran. And it made me feel like, man, we haven't had something to drive forward towards in our community.
Amen. Yeah.
It's always been something like holding us back. It's always been victimizing. And
Yeah.
I'm the number one, like, fuck that victimizing shit, because I did
Amen.
it for so long. I mean, I did
Yeah.
it for so long and realized, like, this ain't working.
Yeah.
I'll explain that is I lost two dudes in 2006. They were killed in combat. I was in Ranger school. I was graduate Ranger school. I was on rear detachment, waiting to meet with the dudes, but they were coming back, so we just stayed by. Boom, it happened, and it fucked my head up, bro. It made me feel insignificant. It made me feel very vulnerable to know two of the dopest dudes I've ever worked with were taken out. Were killed. And it put perspective in my head that I didn't understand. I felt guilty. I wish I would have been there. I feel like maybe I could have took those bullets better than them. All
Yeah.
these things went through my head for years. And
So can I ask you a question about that real quick?
go ahead.
So, because I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and now when this happened, did these thoughts immediately happen, or were these thoughts that happened later on?
Yeah,
Because the reason why I asked that question is because a lot of people, they say that, like, when you're in the midst of like the pumps and all the in general in rush, like, you don't actually have the time to think about all the stuff that's going on, and then all of a sudden it's later on that all of these emotions start rushing, because now you're not, like,
yeah,
now you're sitting idly. And that's, so was it during, before, after,
bro.
both?
It was all of it, because I knew right away when the call came. I was like,
Mm.
I've already felt guilty for not being at the deployment. Right, my right arm was dead. I had a brachial plexus nerve damage, so this thing
Oh,
was
wow.
the battalion physician's assistant didn't allow me to deploy. I even said, bro, I'll Top Gun. I'll figure it out, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
in the Ranger battalion, you feel bad missing a deployment, bro. Right? It's fear. It's like the FOMO, right? So I
Mhm.
already felt bad, and then when that happened, it hurt me, because how much I looked up to these two, and how I felt like I lost time with them before this happened. And
Yeah.
I was also on the team that, carried them to their final resting place, things like that. And so it was a constant on my mind. Watching the families grieve.
Yeah.
It was a hard time for me, bro. It was a hard time, and it didn't get any better until at one point I finally was like snapped, and I got into, the drinking. And it was this thing. What we do is here's what I've put into kind of words a little bit, but
Yeah.
what we do, and what I did, was we find a reason to drink in their memory, because
Mhm.
culturally it's what we're taught.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do it because in our heads we believe showing them how much we suffer ourselves, or we hurt ourselves, would in reverse shows them how much we loved them.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, bro.
It makes
And
no
it's and
sense.
and I'm glad that, like, you bring that up, because it's not until people started bringing it up, right, that people are like, "Wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense."
Right.
Because, like, and even, like, I'm a year sober now, and I'll be honest, I've never lost anybody. I've never lost anyone to suicide. Like, friends that I grew up with that OD'd on drugs and stuff like that, yes, but not anyone military related. So I don't know any personal veterans friend of mine that have died overseas, right? But I do, or suicide, but I do know friends of mine that were in the Marine Corps that, one of my buddies, he's blind and he's a double amputee, and still trying to fight through that and figure out what's come from. They still haven't service connected it. But, even in another buddy of mine, Pat, he passed away from cancer from the bird pits, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when I remember him, people are like, "Oh, we're gonna drink it in his memory," and it's just like, dude, you're drinking so much that you don't even remember anything. And
Yeah,
then when you're drinking, half the time you don't even talk about them. You don't bring up memories of them. You don't talk about like their greatness or things like that. So that's why I formed the podcast, because I was like, hey man, come on and talk about these people sober minded and tell stories so that their family can hear them.
yeah,
Because realistically, that's what the families need, right? But if we're using their memory to get stone cold drunk, that's not the right
yeah.
thing to do. And
So
then with your back to your point about the whole veteran thing, right? We're making veterans look like pieces of shit that can, meanwhile there's veterans out there who are, CEOs of top, Fortune 500 companies, and they're doing all these great things. And then you have these other veterans who aren't doing anything for the community, and it's like, dude, we're going backwards in time instead
absolutely.
of helping one another. But yeah.
No, that's absolutely it. Like I spent so many years just destroying myself in an idea, thinking that they it felt good to them to watch me punish myself for being guilty. It's this weird fucking thing. Like, oh no, I know I love them so much. Let me fucking see how drunk I can get.
Yeah.
And that's the wrong fucking answer. It's the wrong no matter how you cut it, it's fucking
Yeah.
stupid, right? So two ways you can cut that. It's how selfish are you to fucking still have breath in your lungs and to fucking waste it on drinking and feeling guilty? If those motherfuckers had one fucking more day of life, it wouldn't be fucking getting tank drunk crying over fucking some bullshit. It would be like, let me experience what I can while I have it. Right. So
Mhm.
that one, boom. Two, I'm a man of faith. And I don't project it to the world very often because I feel like that actually turns people away from it. But for
Yeah.
me,
No, I
I
can I
always,
can agree.
yeah. So I always felt that when people are in heaven or wherever the afterlife is and they're looking upon us,
Yeah.
they're not sitting there saying, drink another shot.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, bro. It literally, it's so contradictive to everything that, and I'm glad that you say that because it's so true. It's like there's so many people out there who just like they don't believe in heaven, they don't believe in hell, and then when someone dies, oh, seeing the pearly gates, it's like, wait a minute, dude, you just spent like your whole life saying you don't believe in heaven or hell, but
Yeah.
of course you never say, hey, see you in hell, bro. Like
Until
it doesn't make
Valhalla,
any sense.
right?
And
You're
then
like,
yeah,
bitch, you don't even believe in
yeah.
anything.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
Yeah,
It
no,
is,
bro.
dude.
Like, there's
It's
no way.
it's funny that you bring
Yeah,
that up because a buddy of mine, this guy Meech, he brought he everybody was, making these posts a while back and about Till Valhalla. And there were some people that passed away, and he was like, yo, dog, they didn't die in battle, bro. There's no Till Valhalla for them.
yeah,
And he was just like, let's just be real about it. Like if we're gonna talk about something, let's understand the facts behind it. And he's just like, but it's true, man. Like people just use these different things for their own gain.
yes,
And
yes,
it's like, dude, like you want to, like I said, I've only been sober a year, and I never drank in for the reason of like, oh, I miss somebody and I'm depressed. I just drank because I was a piece of crap, and I enjoyed getting drunk, and I didn't want to admit it to anybody but myself. And then finally one day I was like, dude, you gotta stop drinking, right? But the thing that I want to talk about is just the simple fact that a lot of times people, they have to, if you find yourself in a position to where you're getting drunk all the time and you have to create a reason as to why it's okay,
yeah,
then that means it's not okay. Like, like it's
yeah,
especially to veterans, like we think that a six pack or 12 pack daily is norm. Like
right.
when you tell it to a norm to a civilian, they're like, wait a minute, like you drink like 12 or more beers a day regularly. And like it's just
Just on a
like,
light day.
and then you're, yeah, on a light day, and then you're like, "Wait a minute, that's not normal." And then people look at you and they're like, "No, dude, that's not normal, man."
Yeah,
Like, and
yeah.
it's not until you realize that yeah.
That's part of like one of the things I talk about a lot because I've been sober now 4 years and about it's about 4 years and like 3 months or something, somewhere around there. It's on my phone, but we have been raised in a drinking culture, right?
Amen.
So what we do in the military, what we do in sports, what we do in America is we find any reason to celebrate or mourn by using alcohol.
Yep.
And
It's so true.
it's grown so accustomed to our just daily lives in the US
Mhm.
that tell me one friend that reached out to you, do something like, hey, share a story. When he goes, hey bro, I owe you a beer.
Dude,
You know,
it's so true, man.
all day long.
And even now, like, it's such a thing where, like, so I didn't tell everybody and their mother that I was sober. Like, a lot of people didn't know.
Right.
Because I brought it up to a couple of people, and then recently this just happened to me. I was at a kid's birthday, and, we were at a party, and, we were all drinking, 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 and, and their whole family drinks like a lot. Like I wouldn't label them alcoholics, but they're drinkers.
It's like my
And
family, we're
yeah,
celebrating
yeah,
every
like every holiday, everything, right? So I haven't seen them in like a year. So it's been a year since I've been sober. So the last time I was talking to them, I was like, oh yeah, I'm probably gonna quit drinking or whatever. So a year later, I'm hanging out with them and I've been drinking these like it's called hop water,
Oh,
or
yeah,
I drink like dude, it's
absolutely.
so good. Or
Yeah,
like I'll drink like non-alcoholic Samuel Adams or whatever.
absolutely.
So like I still like being around people, and I don't like being the guy who just drinks a bottle of water. So, like, I like to have, like, something, right? So I brought the 6 packs of Samuel Adams, non-alcoholic, just a haze, and I put it in the thing, in the cooler, made nothing of it, and then I grabbed one, popped it open, and was sitting there, and then, like, an hour or so later, my buddy was like he's like, "Yo," he's like, "Dude, you" he's like, "Who brings non-alcoholic beers to the party?" And I was just like, "Somebody who's been sober for a year?" And then his whole family was like, "Wait, what?" And they were like, "You've been sober for a year?" I was like, "Yeah, I just, I just dropped it, haven't drank." And then immediately they all were like, "I didn't think it'd be something that you would actually go through with." And they were like, "Why not? Like, just have one." And then immediately it became this thing. And like I've been on the other side of that.
I
I've
know
been
what
on the
you mean.
other side of that.
Yeah,
And it's like, dude, at some point you realize, like, dude, first of all, it's not your place to ever ask somebody why they quit drinking.
yeah.
It's not your business. And then two, if they've decided that, just support them in it. And
Yeah,
there's but you're right though, it's such a social norm
mhm.
because everything we do, like especially the Marine Corps, that was the hardest day in the past year for me to go through was my first sober Marine Corps birthday.
I bet.
Like, dude, I quit in September and I was like, "Oh, my birthday, no big deal. Wedding anniversary, no big deal." And then November and Veterans Day came back to back, and I was like, "Ah," but once I made it through those 2 days, I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm good."
Yeah, it's so weird how I remember myself saying, like, "I don't trust a man who doesn't drink." I remember saying
Yeah.
that, and I'm
Yeah,
like
dude, people say that, yeah, all the
now
time.
I'm like, "Whoa." As
Yeah.
much as I thought I was a mature motherfucker at that
Yeah.
looking at
Yeah.
now, like, dude, I'm a way different dude
'Cause
now.
you think about it, man, like, and you catch yourself saying it, right? It's just like, "Wait a minute, you don't drink?
Yeah,
What do you
right,
mean you
right.
don't drink?" It's like
You chastise
it's like it's the
people like,
worst thing in the world. It's like
"Just one
and
beer."
especially in the military, right? Because there are young straight edge, young men and women who join the military, never have smoked, never have drank,
Mhm.
but once they get in, people are
Oh,
like,
we
"What do you
push them.
mean you don't?" And
We
then
just
all of a
yeah,
sudden, realistically, and I'll be honest, I know some, young men, some Marines or that I've stayed in the Marine Corps with that actually still didn't do it, and they were like, "Nah, man, I'm good," and they stay firm from it. And they were never, they never buckled to it. But it's a huge drinking culture everywhere, whether it's college, whether it's the Marine Corps, or the Army,
yep.
it's such a norm, man. And I'll be honest that one of the reasons why I stopped drinking was I'm not sure if you're familiar with Donnie O'Malley
Yeah.
from Vet TV. Yeah, so I met him and he gave this speech at the Silkies hike. And after the Silkies hike, I sat down with him, had a couple of I was drinking, he wasn't, and I just started asking him about why he stopped drinking and his sobriety. And one of the things that he just told me, man, was he was just like, dude, there was a point in my life where like I had set up these huge hikes and then I wasn't showing up to them. And the reason why I wasn't showing up to them was because I was too drunk to be there on time. And he said the moment I started missing out on my own activities that I created and I realized that I wasn't being there for the people that I needed, I realized that I was allowing substance abuse to get in the way of my life.
Yeah.
And when he told me that, I immediately started thinking about my wife, my kids, how many birthdays I've been disgustingly drunk, and it's my son's birthday, and it's like,
Um,
dude, you're wasted, and you're not even paying attention to your kid or having fun. And then I started thinking about all the different things I missed due to me being drunk. And I realized, and that night, just sitting across from Donnie, I was like, you know what, man, I'm not going to drink anymore. And
yeah.
then I spent the next year not drinking. And the biggest reason why besides what he said, but what really made me realize it, man, was my son's 5, and my whole family has always had alcoholism problems. My whole entire family. My brother was an alcoholic, my uncle still is battling it, and he's in his 60s. So like it's in my blood, right?
Yeah.
So but I've always been the person, like, because it was never a big deal. Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I only drink once in a while, but when I do, I get, so I was like, it's not that bad. But when my son started taking beers out of my beer fridge, because that's what it's called, and bringing them to me, I was like, nah, bro. I was
Bro,
like, nah, bro. I was like, I'm good, dude.
let me
Like,
yeah, let me
no,
chime in on that. Like that is one of the biggest pet peeves of my life that
yeah,
I used to be the beer boy for my dad, and I loved it.
yep,
It was a cherished position in life, right? Like,
yep.
let me get my beer. I'm
Now,
like,
now my son's a seltzer boy.
right, exactly. But then you do it to yourself, and you start asking your kids to
Yep,
get your beers, and then what you don't realize is that that same cultural fucking thing that you were raised in, you've just created that for your own
yep.
kids. And so my
The
kids.
cycle continues.
Yep, and you've just continued the cycle of alcoholism just because it's what we've always done,
Yeah.
right? And so that yeah, I know that, and my kids now know. One, my younger kids don't even remember me ever drinking because they were
Mhm.
young enough to be just like naive to it all.
Yeah.
And two, my older kids know, oh shit, you can stop anything at any point. My dad did it.
Yeah.
Those are two things I'm very blessed to have been able to teach
Amen.
my kids through this. The other thing is look at the statistics for the listeners on this. Look at the statistics at any one of your friends who have committed suicide and see if they were drinking. They were. There's this crazy statistic. I'm working on my master's in psychology right now, and so I'm working on a lot of the studies with post-traumatic stress and alcoholism and suicide. Right, those are the things that I like to study, and I dig deep. And so there's these studies that prove that post-traumatic stress, TBI, and alcoholism create suicide ideation. Too much drinking creates suicide ideation. A chemical compound in your brain is manifested through overly drinking from abuse of alcohol that creates the thought of suicide.
Mm.
If that's all I needed to know, homeboy, I lost
So
one point.
essentially, if you already have a TBI and you're drinking, you're just double whammy.
You're a ticking time bomb, bro. There's
Yeah.
no clue when that day you take a drink and go, fuck it. Right? Because
Yeah.
that's what alcohol is. It's the fuck it button. It's like any of us have ever been overseas, any of us have ever been in a fight, that moment right before you go, fuck it, boom, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the same thing with what we need in a sense of wanting to end our life in a sense is
The
that
catalyst.
fuck it. Right.
Yeah.
And so anyone drinking that has post-traumatic stress, that has a TBI, even if it's just post-traumatic stress, who redlines their life. You know those guys who are always dating someone who's a toxic relationship, who's always fucking struggling with money, who has a lot of post-traumatic stress or something and doesn't want to heal it. They use alcohol as a coping mechanism, right? It's what we do to just safeguard ourselves from all the noise. And it's what we all do, right? We just like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll just drink. It's like you take a sip and you go, it's so good. No, bitch,
Yeah.
you're just masking that you have to experience life and you don't want to face it.
Yeah.
Sober too hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so people who are like us, military, who are in the world of just like there's a lot of trauma involved in it, even our past kids' trauma, it all comes to the top at one point.
Yeah.
When you add alcohol to it, you're putting yourself in a position that could be catastrophic. And
Yeah.
we don't even think like that, dog. But go look at the statistics. Go as soon as you hear like, hey, what? Oh man, he was drinking all night and boom. Interesting. If that's not enough for you to be like, maybe I should fucking check my shit, right?
Yeah.
That's all I needed. I knew that I was dependent on this shit. I knew that I was finding every reason to fucking drink, every reason to celebrate, every reason to want to drink. Fuck that. I knew that I was so fucking like surrounded by it that my kids knew that's all they knew of me. I knew that I missed so many birthdays and missed so many memories. So they're like, Dad, you remember that? I'm like, fuck no, I was drunk. I knew that I was using it as a tool to fucking shut off the noise around me.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And then I started studying this shit. I started seeing like veterans are dropping like flies. Yes, but they're all drinking too. I was like, well, if you remove the drinking, is there still suicide? I don't fucking know, but I'm not right now. The statistics are telling me that's the catalyst to it.
Yeah.
So
And it's even, even if like you think about like, and listen, this is not to knock any of these places, right? But like if you look at a VFW, American Legion, Marine Corps League, each one of them has a bar in it.
yeah,
And then what happens? All these veterans come for like a quarter price drinks, and they drink all day and they talk about whatever it is, and then they leave and they probably drunk drive home,
yeah,
or
yeah.
they because
It doesn't even matter. The list goes on and on. Anytime you
yeah,
involve drinking, you already know what happens. We all
yeah.
know.
And
You know,
it stinks because and it's also like it's just the And you know, I'm a Marine Corps. I'm a Marine Corps recruiter, so I deal with a lot of influencers, parents, and stuff. And a lot of times, man, that's like a number one reason why they don't want their kids to join. They're
I
just like, I don't want my kid to deal with that, you know. And I had a mom last night ask me that, and she's like, you know, I don't want my kid to become an alcoholic and have to do all these things. And I was just like, you know, I was like, ma'am, I was like, you know, with all due respect, ma'am, you know, we need to understand and realize that people can become alcoholics in any way, shape, or form, right? And I was like, you know, the Marine Corps and the Army, the military, what we're doing for mental health now, as opposed to what was going on back in the day, is night and day, you know. And I was like, you know, now you have veterans that are coming together to, you know, tell people, hey, alcoholism isn't the way, and all these different things, right? But that's our job as veterans, is to be able to show the civilian world, like, just because you join the military doesn't mean that you become more effed up on the way out. Like, it doesn't have to be like that.
No, it's been used as a marketing tool. It's been used for the hearts and minds and how to receive money for nonprofits, for many other things. The society has used the most negative outcome of veterans and use it as a marketing platform to raise money because
Yeah.
it's hearts and minds, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone has a bleeding heart for a broken veteran, a hurt veteran, a homeless veteran. And so millions of organizations have been started to raise money to help them, but the approach has been wrong, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's the same thing. Look, 20 something years of fucking combat, still the numbers of suicide are just completely just out of this fucking world bonkers. I'm not even going to use the 22. That's just a fucking
Yeah.
that's that's just a number. That's not even the real
Yeah.
fucking number, right?
Exactly.
And so when you do that, part of the psychological operations to that, when you do that, when you champion behind a false narrative, you create the ripple effect of that. And that's what we see daily. You create this demonized, you create this fucking cloud over our head veteran who thinks,
Yeah.
oh, the world is, I'm going to be a statistic, or maybe I will be a statistic, because we've given them no hope. We
Yeah.
highlight the worst thing.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
so true, man.
well, there's a white paper study out there. It's called Suicide Contagion. And I usually don't use the word suicide as often, but since we're on the topic, I think people could be mature enough to understand why we're saying it. But the point is, the more you talk about it, the more you create it. Every suicide prevention program
Dude.
in the military has caused more suicide. Why? Because you're a
Dude.
young professional veteran, you're sitting there, you're like, fuck, I've never thought about suicide in my life. I'm like, boom, suicide, 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 suicide. And then you're sitting there like,
Yep.
then you find yourself in a vulnerable position. And one
Bro,
thing,
it's dude, I'm so glad you said that, man. Not to interrupt you, but like I agree. Like, I'm just like, dude, all it's doing is it's putting it in your face. It's putting it in your face. And it's just like, dude, if we keep talking about it, then it's not to say like, listen, I'm not to say that like, oh, I'm sad that this person did that, right? But it's not, if we keep talking about it, where we're idolizing them, or
yes,
realistically, that's what's
it's,
going on.
yes, it's the
And it's
same.
just like, yeah,
Go think about it this way. Why do we have so many active shooters? Well, because we keep highlighting who the fuck they are. We're eternalizing and immortalizing their
yeah,
face and their name
yep,
in the media. And so what happens is another little fucking kid who's sitting in his fucking daddy's basement, mama's basement, playing video games, who feels disconnected from the world, who feels alienated from the world. He decides, let me get my time. And he
yep,
goes and does the same exact thing in hopes that they put his fucking face out there and they put his name. So now you have all these, not copycats per se, but I want to be acknowledged.
yeah,
It's no different in the suicide space, where young, impressionable veterans who are struggling with life say, you know what, maybe it's just meant to be, because this is
yeah,
what veterans do. Fuck you. That is not true.
yeah, yeah,
But it's easy to fucking convince people through this accidental psychological operations by
yeah,
creating this, well, maybe I should be a statistic. And that is 100% proven what happened in the military.
yeah,
Since the suicide prevention program in the Army, suicides went up. It's
yeah.
like, holy fuck.
Yeah. And it's even like with you, I'm sure you could attest to this. Like, I only have 5,000 followers on Instagram. But even when I drop something, immediately you have these disgruntled veterans in the background.
Always.
Oh, it's gonna do there's no programs for veterans. It's like, dude, if you're a veteran and you don't have a successful job, that's on you. Like, bro, dude,
Yeah.
there are so many companies across America that have so many different programs for veterans, especially
Yes.
tax breaks, all these different things. If you're not going out of your way to get employed, then that's on you.
It's
Like,
a
stop.
massive, it's a massive victimization across the board because they hear other people say that.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck the VA. I was like, hold up. Have you managed the VA and said, hey, I'm not taking those meds? Have you said that? Or did you go, Okay, I guess if you tell me so. I
Yeah.
went there and said, I'm not taking any meds. I'm sober. They said none. I said no. So find holistic fucking healing for me, or else I'm not fucking doing shit, right? And they found holistic healing. Like, oh, that's crazy. Why? Because I took charge of my shit, dog.
Yeah.
I didn't let them tell me what I need to do. I said I am not doing medication. I like my dick to work. You know what I mean? I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel groggy. I don't want to feel different. I want to be myself. I want to learn how to manage stress, right? And it's like, and too many times that we victimize ourselves, we allow the world to fucking stomp all over us. But like, motherfucker, you never would have done that in the military. Why are you doing that now?
Amen. Amen, man. And it's people like yourself who've gotten out and you've dealt with all those things, but you're successful and you use your military experience to become successful and to remember your brothers, which is why I also wanted to talk about that. How
Yep.
do you use your service where you are now, right? Where your feet are is where your mind is, right?
Mhm.
How do you utilize everything you did in the army in the position that you're in now, whether it's acting, whether it's the nonprofits, whether it's all those things that
Yeah.
you have a hand in.
Well, first, I'm like, you have to be grounded, right? You have to know who the fuck you are, what makes you tick, right? And that was like, I knew who I was before I became an Army Ranger. I really knew how driven I could be. I just didn't know how to put it together. The military helped me learn how to put it together. It taught me how to have a mission and then fucking make a plan of that, how to accomplish that mission. And so
Yeah.
that's all I do now is I know what I did in the military. I know what I did before the military in baseball. And it's just cookie cutter, keep doing the same thing. And what is that? Hard fucking work, bro. Have a plan of action and fucking accomplish that shit. And when you're done with that one, create another one. So it's not weird that I fucking was a college baseball player. It's not weird that I was a special operations military. It wasn't weird that I was special operations in the prison system. It wasn't weird that I was special operations in border patrol. Isn't weird that I'm a writer and actor in fucking Hollywood in the top echelon of this shit. I'm special operations Hollywood, bro.
Yeah.
I use I use the
I
same
like that.
mindset, bro, as in go in there, shake hands, kiss babies, be a good person, build strong relationships, and prove it by the hard fucking work. And so
Amen.
when I tell people, it's like I'm not the hats, I'm not the titles that I chased, I'm not the ranger, I'm not the bass player, I'm not the board player. I'm the hard work it took to get there. That's
Amen.
all I am. So I can cookie cut this in any career field and be just as successful. I know how
Mm.
to show up on time. I know how to work hard. I've been through some heavy shit and still kept my mind right, right? I've done all these things and I've led people in combat. I've done all these things that I've say all that skill set is valuable. I know how to use that all that skills on in Hollywood in managing a nonprofit in fucking managing business. And all it is really like I said is have a plan of action and fucking accomplish the mission. And then once you've done that, do it again.
Mm. That's awesome, man. And how does it help? Like, would you say like the combatives and everything you learned, like, does that transition to what you do in your acting and stuff like that? Like, does that help out a lot?
Yeah, what in the acting world is you're playing a character, and the goal is to harness as much of that character's personality as you possibly can. And what that means is have a good Rolodex of emotions. Know how he is when he's happy, sad, mad, whatever the case, and different levels of mad, right? Like the way we're mad at our kids is different than we're mad at fucking an enemy, right?
Yeah.
And knowing the full dynamic of each emotional range and being able to project those to the world. And so,
Yeah.
so I know what it's like to see a wife lose her husband. I know what that pain looks like. I
Yeah.
have it in here. I have it in my Rolodex. I know what it's like to be in combat and watch the collateral damages of war that you never expected.
Yeah.
I have that in here. I know what it's like to lose a friend. I have that in here. I know what it's like to go through divorce. I have it. I have the fucking life of experiences that are my Rolodex of emotions. And when
Yeah.
you want me to play a character, I'll
So
find it.
now when you do that, right? Because this is something I've always thought, right? Because like you look at people like Joaquin Phoenix when he played the Joker, or Heath Ledger when he played the Joker, right? All the stories you hear is that they dived into this character so much
Yeah.
that it caused them to have suicidal ideations and
Yeah.
stuff like this,
Absolutely.
right? So like with you having dealt with all of these things in the army as a ranger and in the prison system, when you dive into your character, does it like when you get out of character, does it cause you issues? Like, do you have to
Yeah.
like like,
Yeah,
how do you do that? Because I feel like you're taking post-traumatic stress and then putting yourself back in it and, like, reliving it all over again,
yeah,
and I
that's
feel
exactly.
like this is like a potion for disaster.
Yeah, no,
Or does it help you?
no, that's what I'm saying. It can be a potion of disaster if you don't have the tools that I've built over the years, right? I have these
Mm,
wellness tools that I have in my back pocket for when I am mentally in a space where I need to fix, right? So my character was struggling with post-traumatic stress. I struggle with post-traumatic stress. If you watch the show, a lot of it is my real story. So I have to hear this shit. I have to hear them saying, "What about this, that?" And I'm like, right. So I'm actually mentally, I know I'm acting right here, but my body doesn't
yeah.
know that. My body's
Mm,
experienced it again. The physiological effects of post-traumatic stress. My body is breathing a certain way, emotional, ready to fucking jump, and you know what I mean? And so
mhm,
I have to teach myself how to shut that off. And so I have,
wow.
yeah, I have to have a lot of mindful tools to keep me grounded. And so there's breathing techniques. I call a counselor during the season, and be like, yo, I just need to get this off my chest, right? Da, 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 da. You know, to me and my wife, physical fitness, like the list of different wellness and mindfulness techniques that I have now is what helps me get back to a grounded state and get back to my
Yeah.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I was just thinking about that before. I was just like, dude, like this guy, like the characters that he plays are who he is, but he's also playing a character. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I can only imagine how it feels to have to jump in and out of that,
Yeah.
right? Because
I had
like
to learn it.
for other people, like for other actors, they never lived that life. So for them, it's completely fictitious.
Yeah.
For you, no, it's reality, and now it's fictitious while being reality. So I was just wondering like
Yeah.
how that all works out.
We had to learn this, dude. We had to learn. I came home and I was super edgy and emotional, and like my
Mm.
kids might say something, and I just got to I go to the room and cry because I'm like, "Child, what's wrong with me?" Right? Like I'm on edge because I've been building up my emotions and putting them right on the edge. So when I act, it fucking boom, it's honest. And then I didn't know how to shut that down. I come home like from a quick flight, 2.5 hours from work to home, and I'm like, "Hey kids," and they're like, "Hey dad," I'm like, oh, they didn't even respond to me being home. That feels terrible. You know what I mean? And any little
Yeah.
thing they did made me feel like I told my wife at one point, I was like, why am I even doing this? Like, I feel like I come home, they don't even acknowledge that I exist. Well, they're fucking teenagers, homie, and they're in their own world. They're going through their own shit,
Yeah.
right? Like they're going through dating issues and school issues and all.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking they should run to me and hug me and say they love me. But no,
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is I've raised very independent kids and they're in that state of the most
Yeah.
time of their life right now. So dad isn't cool, but it's okay. Right. But I had to
Yeah.
fucking learn that because I come home like I fucking work my ass off. I come home every fucking week and I see these kids and they fucking don't even give a fuck that I'm even here. Well, that's really emotions from my show that I'm like carried over to home and made me way too
Yeah.
right. Like I was offended by everything because I was in such a disarray as a character that looking for love that I actually came home looking for that same love and it wasn't there. So I felt
Yeah.
all my worlds are fucked and it could
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
fucked me, bro. You know,
I'm assuming your wife is a huge, proponent and helper in this. Like,
she's
I'm
like,
sure that she at sometimes is like, "Hey, Rocco, calm down.
yeah.
You just got home. You're not acting right
Right,
now."
right, yeah, yeah. She's a big, she's my grounding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She'll be like, "Babe, it's just your head."
Yeah.
Like
Put
oh,
it
it's
back on. Switch
yeah,
heads when you get home.
yeah, yeah, man.
But, so what how did you get into the acting? Like, when you like, because like, dude, it's insane to understand that you were in the army as a ranger, then you were doing prison systems, now you're acting, like, how did this happen? Like, the
Yeah, I went from like the prison to the border patrol and did that like
yeah.
as special operations, and then while I was in the border patrol,
So,
I
are you
started.
just, like, an adrenaline junkie? Have you always been like this
No,
s
dude.
like, did you come out with a freaking Kevlar on and a knife? Like
I just I always wanted to push myself, to see how far I could go. I just have always been like I've never saw the wall in front of me saying you can't go that far. I've never seen it, bro. I still to this day don't see it. Like if I saw that, I wouldn't think I could be a writer in Hollywood and actually do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the next thing I'm going to be a show creator. I'm going to create my own show. That's my next goal. I
Nice.
don't see a fucking boundary. I don't see a wall. I don't see anything. There's no hurdles I need to jump. And so I've always seen life that
Do
way.
you
And so
have a theme for the you know what do you already know what it is?
no, no,
No?
no.
Okay.
I
right.
do. I have some ideas, but like,
Okay.
you know,
No, yeah, I know.
yeah, but I have a lot of like cool ideas, but like the
Yeah.
first one I'm gonna try and work on is the border patrol concept, but
Ooh,
I'll leave it at that.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, and you're an author. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. My I don't know, I think I gave it away. Yeah, I think I gave away my last copy. That's dumb of me. Either way, yeah, bro, fucking, I just never saw a boundary, and so I kept pursuing it. And when I was in the border patrol, my buddy goes, "Hey, dude, I'd love to have you on my YouTube skits." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, fuck yeah," So we did these comedy skits, and that's Article 15 clothing. You might know like Matt Best, Levin X, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
I started there, and while I was doing that, I knew like, fuck, I don't want to do this. I want to do the real thing. Like genuinely, this to me is like a tease of what I should be doing. And
yeah.
so I started studying theater. I started reading about acting. I started watching all these fucking YouTubes. I was YouTube studying how to be an actor. I was getting trying to learn everything I fucking could about it. And then, me and JT were like, let's make a movie. We're like, oh yeah. So we got a screenwriter in. He helped us write Range 15. Once we're on set with Range 15, that's when I was like, yeah, fuck that. I'm not doing anything else. This is what I want to do. And so the boys went off and did their thing. I stopped and did my thing. And by chance, it's working. And I'm just continuing to pursue acting. It's just been wild, man.
How did you get into the podcast? How did that come about?
Doing my own
'Cause
podcast.
yeah, because you've got what, like 2 episodes now?
Yeah. Well, I started with the Drinking Bros podcast. That was my original podcast with Matt and JT and Ross.
Okay.
And as I kind of transitioned my life into the entertainment space, I just didn't have the time to continue to fulfill all these different things.
Yeah.
And so I just pulled back and started the Vinny Rock podcast. The Vinny Rock podcast has been around for a while, probably 5 years now, but I took like a 2-year hiatus
Oh,
because
okay.
I couldn't record it and upload it all on my own. It was so much work that I couldn't figure it out. So I went from recording a session like four a month to stopping it and going live in the morning with the Vinny Rock podcast and do like questions and answers kind of thing with the audience. And all of that it wasn't doing what I wanted. I like to storytell, and I like to I like to interview people with incredible stories, right?
Yeah.
So I got my camera set up, and now I've set it up where I can do it all on my own and send it all to a team who edits it for me. And so now that it's that process, it's a little bit easier. I would love to even streamline it a little bit more, but that costs a little bit more money. So right now, the situation I have, I'm happy with. It works. And I want to continue to be able to be a conduit to helping people, one, find their path in wellness,
Mm,
and just tell stories that deserve to be told, bro.
yeah, yeah. Why do you care so much? Because like, and I asked that question because like everybody has their why, right? And there's a lot of people like we've already spoken about who they don't use their service for better, they don't use their abilities for better, and they just they lack of a better term, they whore themselves out, right? And
Yeah.
it's just all about me. And for even in this position right now, for you to be on a podcast with me, right? To take your time away from your children and your family to come on here, why do you care so much about the other people
Yeah.
around you that you don't even know? Like, why do you care about being better in?
Everybody, not just veterans, but like men, law enforcement officers, anyone, right? We all go through, we're all going through we're all in different stages of our own wellness, of our own, right, our own disposition of life and how we find happiness. We're all going through it now, everyone. And everyone listening is just in their head thinking like, yeah, where am I in that, right? Like everyone's kind of doing that. I found myself to be in a pretty good position and to be able to explain it really well to others to help them get on their
Mm,
path. And for a long time, I sat and watched social media and I watched all of the influencers out there and I'm watching how they use their platform. And, I didn't feel there was enough people doing it the way that I think should be done. I kind of like watched,
mm.
like, man, I wish they were using their platform for good and not evil, right? That's in my head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And instead of manipulating, I wish they were influencing, right? And that's
yeah.
how I saw it, right? And I started thinking like, and you never want to be the guy. It's like imposter syndrome. Like, why would anyone want to listen to fucking me? That's how I kept telling myself, like, I know my story, but it's not that interesting because there's someone else that had lost both legs and I think way more inspirational, right? There's someone
Yeah.
who's lost 400 pounds, I think way more inspirational. There's someone
Yeah.
who's a strong marriage for fucking 30 years, they're more inspirational. I kept seeing
Yeah.
my flaws, and then eventually at one point I said, well, if not me, then who? And I'm going to sit here and watch for the next 10 years and not see someone put out to the world the message or the energy that I want to see in the world. And so
Wow.
I started putting myself out there, man. And one, it fills up my cup, right? It fills up
Yeah.
to serve others. It's something that's kind of part of my Christian faith, right?
Yeah.
But it's also part of being a father and wanting to leave a legacy of like my dad did everything he can to help as many people as possible, like that selfless service. And I don't think like I don't do it because I want people to talk about it. I do it because I want to do it until someone else takes my spot and I can sit back and watch them continue. Like
Yeah.
I'll do it until someone else steps up. And I have did a lot of deep diving and soul searching on how I could fix my own life and then how I could turn around and teach others what I did. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of the position I took with social media is a position I've taken with going towards my master's in psychology. It's the position I took with creating Light Diffused Wellness, right? Is
Yeah.
let me teach people how to heal their lives and have some kind of happiness in that.
Yeah. Dude, that's so awesome, man, because like a lot of what you were just saying, I find myself doing all the time, like with my podcast. Like I've hit 200 episodes, and in the past 2 years, there's been so many times where I've literally just been like, dude, who the hell am I? Why is anybody listening? Why should anybody listen? And there's been so many times where I've been like, you know what, I'm just gonna be done with it or whatever. But then every single time that happens, I get a random Instagram message from some random person who's just like, "Hey, dude, thank you so much for the podcast. It got me through my Marine Corps career. It got me through this. It got me through that." I've
Yeah.
had like random people, and it's just like, you know what, man, thank you. Like that one random person who's like, "Hey, don't stop." I'm just like, all right, and
Yeah. You can't sit here and post guys like me and you who would do this for the right reason.
yeah,
You can't sit here and read the numbers. You can't sit because it'll discourage you, right?
yeah,
You got people talking about fart jokes that are getting a million downloads, right? And you're like, and then I'm over here trying to
yeah,
save lives and I get 2 shares. And you're like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so it's very discouraging.
yeah,
It's very discouraging because you want to create this ripple effect of change, but no one's fucking creating the wave. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so it's hard, but at the same time, those 2 shares potentially save 1 life. Well,
Amen.
motherfucker, it's fucking worth it. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't sit here and look at the algorithms. I don't sit here and look at the fucking numbers or my impressions. I don't give a fuck about any of it. I give
Yeah,
my heart. I give my heart to whatever I fucking do. And I get those messages just like you. And that's why I keep doing it. Because I'll get one that goes, bro, I get them all the time now. Because I've been doing this for so long. And randomly,
yeah,
like 5 years ago, you answered a call and you said this. I'm like, oh, bro, I don't even know who the fuck you are. But don't, like, you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
I answer every message. I don't fucking need to know who you are. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna give you my opinion. People always tell me like, "Hey, I'm in a weird place in my life. I'm 30 years old. Blah blah blah. Got kids. What do you think I should do?" I said, "Well, what's your priority?" But and so I just give. I don't even know who these fuckers are. I never even asked. But I'll
yeah,
tell you, here's how I start. And dude, I don't know who it affects, change, whatever. But I always get a message back like, "Bro, that one day you responded, changed my life." And I'm like, oh, "Cool, dude. I don't fuck that."
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Well, dude, let me talk about something real quick that we have some
yeah.
want to hit it. So anyone who's listening to this already hearing about us talk about wellness and mental health, and I want to kind of give a little bit of a foundation for all of you. I want to give you tools for you guys to understand your life. And if you find yourself in a moment of crisis, you can hopefully mitigate it. Because in my head, when we talked about the negative, we talk about suicide, you're talking about the worst case outcome. Let's reverse the psychology on this. Let's go towards the positive psychology and say, let's talk what leads to that and let's mitigate it from there. So let's live a more well-rounded lifestyle. Okay. And if you want to find a well-rounded lifestyle, you have to find out what is a lifestyle. Like how do you identify a lifestyle? And I'm gonna give you a tool. Boom, look at my hand, these 5. All right, it's going to be mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and professional. Those are the 5 tools: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and professional. These are the 5 areas of our life that we need to focus on. We should focus on every day. And we want to have some kind of, I would say balance, but that's kind of a word that's hard to dictate and balance in life because what everyone thinks is more important or values is different. But you want to have a well-rounded lifestyle. So mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, professional. Now let's break that down a little bit. Mental, past traumas. These are emotional things. I mean, excuse me, these are mental things or past traumas. This is like post-traumatic stress. This is like childhood trauma. We have to heal these things, right? People say you can't heal post-traumatic stress. You absolutely can. You cannot remove the memory. That is impossible, but you can make sure that your body doesn't have the physiological effects of that trauma. Meaning, you don't breathe a certain way, your heart rate isn't elevated, you're not sweating, all the panic stuff that ensues from post-traumatic stress. You can actually remove the physiological effects if you do the work, meaning different modalities of healing, counseling, the list goes on and on. So, mentally, physically, physical fitness, there's so many valuable things about physical fitness. If you look good, you feel good, right? If you have self-confidence, you feel good. You can accomplish more things in life by getting in good shape. Not talk about you have not like fat shaming or anything. Like, there's a reason why you're not in shape. A lot of it is this side, unhealed trauma that you eat or you drink to try and cure. You're masking, and it's causing issues in other areas of your life. So physical fitness is very valuable. It drops a lot of healthy and positive different hormones into your body that are good for you. Okay, so physical. Spiritual grounding. It doesn't have to be a god. It doesn't have to be a faith in the sense of what you've been told or all these years kind of shoved down your fucking in your mind. It is some kind of grounding that you are connected to the world in a way that there's someone greater than you. That is all. We are all connected. We are all part of the human. We're all part of humanity. We're all human. We're all going around this circle, this ball, and we're floating in space and trying to find a way to be happy. So if you can find a connection to just people, right? Your faith, and if you don't have a faith, then you find your connection to people or Mother Nature. That is a healthy position to take in life because you don't feel so alone. Okay, mental, physical, emotional. Emotional. All right, understanding emotions, how to use them, and that's okay. Most of us men kind of hold our emotions back. We're not allowed to be emotional. We're not allowed to tell our truth. Fuck that shit. It is complete bullshit. Every time you hold it in here, all it does is stack like papers, and eventually it's going to get so fucking heavy that you can't bear it. And what you're going to do is mask it with alcohol, right? So we have to learn how to manage our emotions and understand our emotions to be able to communicate those emotions and find healthy ways of expression. Okay, and so those are the other ones. And then you go mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, professional. When you have a well-rounded lifestyle, the professional side is a little bit easier. And professional is being able to pay your bills, being able to put food on the table, being able to find comfort in your surroundings, your community, and that's part of your professional. So if you guys are looking like, man, my life feels out of whack, I would say, boom, raise up your hand. Think about it: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and professional. And what of these is kind of out of control? And how can you slowly fix that? And that is kind of a tool that you can think of. It's kind of easy, but like, all right, let me take a step back. Let me create an op order for my life. And these are the areas I need to focus on. And what am I losing control of, and handle it. All right. Because finances is part of the professional side. And finances is a big reason why people find themselves in crisis. And so in my world now, what I teach I have an accountability group called Light Diffuse Accountability Group. And I have Light Diffuse Wellness. We do men's retreats. We're going to do a couples retreat here soon. But my goal is only to help people understand their life and give them the tools so they can mitigate trauma, mitigate crisis before it leads down a path that is irreversible. And it's like, that's what we all should be thinking about. We all should be thinking about live a healthier, well-rounded lifestyle.
Yeah, no, it's true, man, because a lot of times you just don't identify that these things are happening until it's too late,
Yeah.
or you identify them and you don't do anything about it, right? And
Yeah.
it's, if you identify something and you don't change it, we know the outcome, right?
Right.
That's so awesome, man, and I appreciate that, because that's definitely something that I'm in my life right now thinking like, hey man, how can I be more professional, how can I be more deliberate with my approach? and
Yeah.
and one thing that you hit on, man, is so true, especially in today's atmosphere, is especially with the social media like we were talking about and the veterans, and there's this idea that like men can't be emotional.
Yes.
And it went from this place where like back in the day, my dad never cried. Like if he saw a sad movie and he started crying, he would start laughing so that it would be like, oh no, I'm just laughing so hard that I'm crying. And like you
It's so
couldn't see him.
silly. I can't believe
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's so silly. So like my grandfather, so I never saw these men cry. And then even in movies and all these things, and then all of a sudden there was this time period where it was okay to be emotional as men. But now we're back to this position to where people are like, no, veterans shouldn't get counseling, and veterans should do it all on their own, and men
Yeah.
should do this all on their own. And it's like, dude, I think that as men, there needs to be a happy medium, right? Because as men, we're the head of the household. We are, we're in charge of our families, bringing them up. We're in charge of our children and our their walks of life and our why. Like, so, like, if we're too soft, well, then we can't do that,
Yeah.
right? But we also need to be able to show our sons and daughters, like, hey, as a man, this is how you treat a woman, and this is how you speak to a woman, and hey, this is how you treat your family, and this is how you treat other people, and you don't have to be disgruntled, and you can be forgiving, and you can be open. So so how do you personally, how do you balance that, right? Especially as being
Yeah,
a
man.
father,
Look,
because it is a difficult thing to balance.
absolutely. It's just like being a drill sergeant, dude. You know what I mean? In my world, it's like y- I live my life to mentor my kids. I don't need to raise them anymore. They wipe their own ass. Besides the babies, right? But,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm in the phase of mentoring my kids right now. And there's a time when you mentor them and you also take off the hat and be very human to them. Show that like the
Mm,
human side of like my son. I was in the airport. He FaceTimed me and he was emotional, man. He was crying because um, he didn't get to play in the football game. The football game was close. He's a second string guy. Fucking, it was such a close game they never put him in. So he gets home and he's fucking pissed, right? And he's just crying about it. I said, "Look, bro, absolutely, those emotions are valid. You're allowed to feel that way." I was like, "But what I don't want you to do is allow that to break you to the point where you don't want to compete anymore, because
mm,
you're gonna have to go out there and say, 'I'm not starting, but why? What can I fucking do to get myself in a position to start?'" And that's what you should take from this. Like, it hurts to sit on the
yeah,
sideline and watch a fucking team get an ass kicked and be like, "Why the fuck am I even here? They don't even use me." Right? That hurts. And good, it should fucking burn. But and you're allowed to fucking cry. You're allowed to be emotional for that. That's between me and him. You're allowed to have this moment. Yeah, you can't sit there and cry to your coach because that's a little too. The dial's too far pulled
yeah,
too far one way.
exactly,
But with
exactly.
me, I am the safe space for him to be like, let that out. Okay, now shut that off and get busy. Right. And
Yeah,
so for me, I see it as a dial. If dial turned too far left, you're too angry.
yeah,
Dial too far right, you're a blubbering idiot. So
yeah,
somewhere in the middle, you have to, and it's always has
yeah.
to be going to adjust for each conversation, each
Amen.
situation.
Yeah,
So
and that's important that your son felt the need and the ability to come and talk to you about that,
yeah,
and that he felt comfortable enough that he knew that, hey, I can call my dad and have tears in my face, and my dad is going to do what he's supposed to do as a father. Because there's other people who don't approach it like that. There's
yeah,
like people like, no, boy, you're not gonna cry, you're not allowed to cry, and it's like, whoa, what do we like? We
yeah,
need to
yeah. That was my world.
understand our emotions. Yeah,
Right. That was my world. And when you don't learn the full spectrum of emotion and you don't know how to respond to things. All I knew was anger and happiness, right? I didn't know
yeah,
there was
yeah,
a whole range in the middle that I could
yeah, yeah,
have. And so my kids know that, but I'm very blessed to have a son who's willing to do that, to willing to, and maybe I did something right where he feels comfortable enough talking to me about it. You know what I mean? Because there's moments I say, "This isn't a crying moment, son. You're now using the tears to try and avoid the truth of this," right? If he's in trouble for
mm.
doing something at school, I'm like, "No, no, 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 no.
Nah, 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 nah. You don't feel bad now.
You own this shit." That's
Yep.
another one. I say, own your shit, bro. If you
Amen.
fucked up,
That's
just say,
yeah.
"You know what, Pop? I fucked up." I'm like,
Yep.
"All right,
And no,
cool."
and that's a huge thing too, man. In today's society, like there's so many things that are going on. And it's like, dude, where did the accountability go?
Right.
Where did the ownership go? Like, hey,
It's
dude,
tough
I
to
messed
say,
up. Like, dude, hey, last month I didn't, I'm a recruiter. There was one month where I wrote a zero, I didn't write two. And the boss, the CEO was like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, sir, I fucked up. I
yeah,
was like, I didn't do enough. Everything I had didn't work out, and I didn't do enough, sir. I need to do more. And I
yeah,
take accountability of it, right?
you have to.
Instead of saying, "Oh, this didn't happen. This didn't
Yeah.
work out. This didn't work out."
Society
No.
society is making it difficult. No, bitch,
Yeah.
that's not how this works, dog.
Yeah.
We have to look at ourselves and say, "What do I need to do more?"
Yeah.
How my son's he's gonna start once he fucking does more. He's got to prove that he is more value to the team than the other guy, and that means bring more tools to the table, bitch. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Boom.
what do you have next going on? What's next for Rocco?
Yeah, man. Light Diffuse Wellness is kind of taking off. We created these wellness retreats for men that kind of go through a process that I've been able to dissect my own healing adventure and be able to almost recreate that for others and bring some of the most influential people in my life who've helped me kind of get to the next step or change perspectives for me. I've brought them together and they are the cadre for my wellness retreats. And it's been extremely valuable, man. Men are be able to express emotion, but also understand perspectives and also understand education. And like it is it is like the toe tip in the water to healing, and they'll experience something around 5, 6 different modalities, and they can choose which ones they want to continue to pursue after. And
Mm.
in that, we've created a community. Like we've built this community. They go through the sucking events together, these really weird, tough, challenging events that bring people closer together. It's like almost basic training in 3 days, not without
Nice.
the most physical exertion, more so
Yeah.
the mental
Mental.
expression side of things.
Nice.
And that is doing really well for us. We have an accountability group. There's a free Facebook group you can join, but there's a paid membership that gets a little bit more one-on-one accountability. There's people that'll be like, "Hey, man, I want to end my relationship with my significant other because this, but I don't have the guts to, and it's kind of destroying them internally." Well, I make sure we put the whatever we need to in place that they start making strides towards that. There's guys that say, I want to lose 50 pounds. Cool. I'm going to hold you accountable for what the fuck you say. There's guys that say, I want to be a better dad. It's cool. I'm going to hold you accountable. So our accountability group has been really cool. We have pushed people to become more successful in their careers. One guy started landing like fucking, I think it was like 8 million in contracts in this company because we started holding him accountable for his own fucking assets, dog. You know what I'm saying? Other dudes are finding success in their relationships and with their kids, all these things because we're holding them accountable for what they say they want to be and do. Well, then, motherfucker, we're gonna make you do that by fucking pushing you, by being on top of your ass, by fucking putting you there. And so,
Yeah.
I have a group of cadre and mentors that help me do that. We take one-on-ones. We make sure people fucking do what they say they're gonna do, dog, because sometimes you need that. And
Yeah.
so that's been really cool. Outside of that, we have veteran. We're always pushing the positivity. I think we have some new shorts going up later this week. But the money for veteran, we don't make money as a company. I'm the CEO of that motherfucker. I make $0. What we do is any money that comes into that, we'll split it in half and we'll send it to charity. It is just a place of a positive message and cool gear that you can purchase and know that all the money is going towards a veteran going. We go towards the nonprofit that we run. It's called Tomorrow Battalion. And what we do is we write checks for veterans to go to different modalities of healing. I had one guy to go to acting therapy. I have another guy going to ayahuasca therapy. It just doesn't matter. The full range. We have to build a relationship with an organization that we feel is doing good by helping them fix these 5 tools. And that's what we do. And then outside of that, I'm a writer. My next book is coming out November 14th. It is called Borderline. My goal in writing this book is the Border Patrol is going through some hard times emotionally, mentally, physically, all of those things, right? The morale is super low. They have one of the highest suicide rates per capita of any organization right now. And so I took it upon myself, like, how do I make an impact in their community? Well, let me tell the career field in the most honest way where the average person can receive this information and fully respect what they do daily. And hopefully it boosts morale to see someone write their story and actually absolutely love and appreciate what they do daily. I think
Yeah.
the book is going to be the biggest morale boost for the Border Patrol. I think
Mhm.
one of their biggest recruiting tools of the border.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it is going to help explain a lot of the nuance of the Border Patrol career field that people just don't understand. I feel
Mm.
like I put my heart and soul into this book to show them the human side of the badge and what we struggle with daily.
Yeah. So here's the last question for you to kind of cap it all up. What is one memory that you have, like the strongest memory that you have of your life? Like the most, like the thing that you go back to when like you just think about like everything you've been through, like the
Yeah,
hardest, most
I think
achievable thing.
the biggest impacts or the drive in my life has been my kids.
Mm.
And one of the biggest moments of my life, and it was such a nothing moment to most people, whatever even imagine, my kids wouldn't even remember it. But for me, it was a perspective shift that I needed. And I became a single father in 2012 of 4 kids. And on the drive to take them to their new place that they're going to be staying, their mother went on to do other things, and I took on full custodial rights, right? I remember on that drive, my daughter looking at me and we're joking, and she says, "Dad, you're a funny guy. I didn't know that. And that fucking hurt. It wasn't intentional to hurt me. It was intentional,
Yeah.
like, Dad, you're funny. But it hurt because how do they not know who I am as a person? Because
Mm,
I didn't give them that. I gave them the guy who paid the bills and disciplined. I was the guy who disciplined them when they were wrong, paid the bills, and went to go grab a beer.
mm,
And for them to finally see me in a very human state, because I was in a very vulnerable state, because
yeah.
I had 4 kids, the whole drive, I'm thinking like, how the fuck am I going to do this?
Yeah.
I laid my guard down. I let my guard down, and I was being human to them. And when she said that, I still remember the look on her face, me looking over at her, and I was completely like, "Fuck, um, I'm gonna be better for them for here on out."
Yeah.
And that completely changed my life.
Yeah. Wow, man. That's impactful, man. Because it's so true, right? It's like your daughter looking at you and being like, you're funny, and you're just like, wow, I wasn't that person that I needed to be for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Wow, man. Well, yo, thank you so much, Rocco, for hopping on with me, man. I appreciate all of the conversation, everything. Where can everybody find you? Where can everybody find the programs that you're talking about?
yeah.
What's
Just
the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, man, you can message me anywhere. Instagram seems to be the easiest place to get a hold of me. Vincent Rocco Vargas. I think it's Vincent.Rocco.Vargas. But if you just put Vincent Rocco, I'm sure it'll pop up. There's a link in the bio, and you can kind of find all my shit that I have going on. You can DM me, and I answer. It's just something that I do for everyone. I want to be available. I'm almost too available where people fucking talk shit too much. But yeah, you guys can find me if you want to support my book. You can find it. It's called Borderline. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on Barnes and Noble. You can get it on an audiobook. It's my voice. Where it's pre-sales now, so we're hoping to fucking really blow it out of the water. I would love to be a New York Times best-selling author, so I can
Let's
turn around
go.
and write another book. So you guys can help me by sharing that information with your friends. There's links, whatever you can do. I really appreciated it. I really appreciate it. And yeah, man, if you need anything from me, man, I'm available to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that. And hey, guys, take him up on it. Hit his IG up because he does answer. That's how I got a hold of him. But yeah, man, thank you so much, man. I look forward to talking to you soon. And good luck with everything. And I'm gonna share your book with everybody. Got to get you to that freaking that top of being a writer, man. And you already know you're a New York Times seller. We just got to make it happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
I appreciate it. Thank you.